Hey y'all, thanks for coming on the hike with me. Thanks for watching. So I talked a lot about Ray and kind of came up when she was bucking me off. I kind of went to my go-to horse, which was R.I.P. R.I.P, which stood for Repulsive Ignorant Prick. And he got that name because that's when I got him the barn in Tucson that I got him from, out in past 3 Points. They did a lot of racehorses, and the racehorse thing was kind of a front for running drugs, marijuana, out of Mexico to justify the money. But yeah, and there's, I can't remember his name. Eddie was the owner, but did both Eddie? Oh man, I think it was Ed, but I can't remember. Anyways, I remember him telling a story. My buddy was shoeing there, and I was hanging out. Ray Harmon, he was shoeing there, and we were sitting there, and he talked about this one jockey. He's like, I knew I shouldn't have hired. They had another horse in the race, and I know he held my horse up because I took my 45 Derringer and I put it between his eyes, and I said, you ever hold my horse up again, I'll kill you. And I know it hurt because I did it to myself later to make sure. Tells you the kind of people that we were dealing with. But R.I.P was a dash for cash colt, and really nice, but he was a crit orchid, and they had named him Tyson there at the farm because when the Mexicans would go in and clean, he'd rear up and strike him on top of the head, and just one strike and they'd get knocked out, and they were afraid to go in with him. So I paid $600 for him, and I didn't own a trailer or a truck, but luckily next door to where he was at was at the owner's, not the trainer's place. There was a really cool restaurant, Fred's Arena, and they had a restaurant there, and Fred let me use the round pin there. So I started him, had like almost a brand new Ches Weldon saddle that I had saved up for a couple years, and I started him there on that, at that place. And I don't know, we worked him for about an hour or so. And at that point in my career, I don't know how many horses I had actually started. Maybe kind of a couple halfway. But I took him, I rode him, I'd do some lessons, but it was the first horse. My dad and I had a falling out by that point for a while, on and off again. And so I was staying with Ray, and it was the first horse that I was able to buy with my own money, because I'd buy some and I'd get him going. I'd put a handful of rides on him, and then my dad would sell them out from under me. And again, I'm not kind of a horse salesman. I got into this because I love horses, and they become like family. And that's one thing that was hard riding colts, is I'd put all this work in and build this friendship. I was a pretty shy guy, and I'd put all this work in, and then my dad would sell them. And then, of course, he'd keep all the money too, but he'd buy another horse. And, hey, I bought you a new horse for a project, though. Which I guess in one way helped me to get some experience starting colts. You know. But it was always, just really hard because I never had any that were mine. So I rode this colt, I don't know, like I said, maybe an hour, maybe not even that long. Did enough, got on him, loped in both directions. Rode him out. I didn't feel comfortable putting a bit in his mouth. Yeah, so I just rode him in the halter and halter rope. I think it was 7-8 miles through the desert there, and I had to get off a couple times. He got pretty bothered, and I'd do some groundwork to refree him up rather than take the risk of getting bucked off in a bunch of cholla cactus. Because those of you that have rode in the desert realize sometimes a one rein stop is not optimal because their butt might get in the cholla cactus when it gets too thick. So I do some groundwork here and there and yonder, and we'd get enough to go on. And I guess that's still great advice that I give people, and I wouldn't say that I'm past it now. It's been a lot of years, but when things aren't going right, again, you can do groundwork and free them up and stay just a little safer. Because at the end of the day, I don't care how macho you are. If you're the machoest person in the world but you get hurt, it's not worth it to me, especially if you're my friend. And yeah, it's kind of brings back to a question or a statement Ray used to make. He said, I hate these horse people. It's just a bunch of clicks. Lest, of course, they include me in on it. So I guess I'm really into the horsemanship. And now for horses anyways, I want people to be in the horsemanship. That's what interests me. It's really hard for me to get back with some of the rodeo guys and see them ramming and jamming and mouth gaped open. I mean, it happens even in good horsemanship, but not, it's not the most of the time, where with them a lot of it's most of the time. Lena. So I aspire to be around people that are actually interested in horsemanship, that want to learn, that want to do better. And I try not to judge, because you never know. Some students take longer than others, just like some kids. Some kids excelled in kindergarten, never amounted to anything. Other kids, Lena, go through college and don't excel until their 30s or 40s, so you never know. And the one cool thing is people that are just interested in trying. I mean, that's the thing. It's the same thing in a horse, really, right? You just want that horse to be able to try and be comfortable trying, so that you can get somewhere. Because when a horse shuts down, when a human shuts down, when we shut down from learning, we go into self-preservation mode. It's just not going to carry. But when you're there working and learning, you have opportunity. And it's amazing to me out there. Every one of you out there has the potential to be greater than Tom Dorrance if you tap into it. And so anybody that you start working with, you never know. They might become the next Ray Hunt. And that's really, I just want to learn. I want to find somebody that does some things better than me and just copy them and be around them. That's why when I was a kid, I would be like, hey, Buck, can I wash the trailer? Can I clean your trailer? Can I feed your horses? Can I brush your horses? Can I make sure they have water at night? Need me to move some hay, some pellets, whatever? Just keep me around and find value for me so that I can learn from you. That's why I went to clinic after clinic after clinic. Hundreds and hundreds of clinics with Buck. And then again, when I left working for Buck, I spent a lot of time with Ray, because Ray at that point was on oxygen, and I just figured, law of averages, I probably had more time with Ray really than I did with, or more time with Buck. So yeah, Buck's still around a long time after Ray, and I hope he lives a lot longer. But at the end of the day, I just love learning from them. I love the way the horses look, and blessed enough to be around those guys. Bill Dorrance, Tom, a lot of times we would sit and watch horses. But that time I got back, sorry I digress a little, going back to R.I.P. is applying those. And there was a point in my riding when I was working for Buck, maybe, I don't know, a year after that or so, year and a half, I was in the Hackamore, just starting in the Hackamore. But I'd ride these colts in the clinic. And by now I had taken a bunch of clients' horses in too, in that couple years, as I was there in Tucson. I was getting more done at Buck's clinics with his help. But I was getting more done in 5 days than I was getting done with my horse after a year and a half or so of riding. And it really sort of puzzled me. So then when we got kind of close to home, I was able to haul my horse around with us a little bit. Which is probably one of the biggest things that I missed with Buck, is not getting to ride all the time. And I wish I had a horse that whole time, although I'd probably still be with Buck, because it was the greatest job I ever had. But I'd start riding my horse at lunchtime. And as I'd ride him, I started to figure out every lunch after a couple weeks, it's amazing how much you get done when you actually put that steady work in your horse and you're consistent. And that's one of the benefits of coming to the clinics, is having several days in a row, several hours to ride and work at your horse so that you can progress. Because nothing progresses sitting staring at it and wanting to press. You actually have to work at it. So work at it, I guess, will be the title of the video. I hope you guys have a blessed day and work at it. Remember, when you're working, enjoy the journey. Anything's worth doing is worth enjoying. So happy trails. Have a great day.